Abi tu? Niçe?
هما برو پشت بنر وقتی صحبت میکنی برو پشت بنر روشنه بیم اول روشنه آره الان این تنظیم نه اونجا زیاد دور باشه از میکروفون چیزی. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming here to support the international campaign for one secular school system for all. It's about time now. It's about time, 21st century. We need to bring down all these irrational, all these geographical, all this segregation, all these anti-children, anti-women. We need to bring down this system and make sure there would be one secular school system for all children so they can laugh together, they can play together, they can study together and learn together. Thank you so much. We can do it together we can have one secular school system for all Canada, not only in Ontario. I would like to introduce you and talk about a little bit about our MC today, Sheila Ayla. I'm very proud to be working with her in an international campaign against Sharia court in Canada. She was one of the activists in campaign against no Sharia in Canada. From the early 90s, Sheila Ayla has been an active participant in Canadian humanist movement. Before retiring in January 2005, she was the senior administrator for Humanist Associations of Canada. Sheila was active in No Sharia campaign and we were so proud to have her in our camp. And her input has been published in Humanist Perspective. Thank you, Sheila. Sheila now serves as president of Secular Ontario, whose mandate is to ensure public and institutions are kept secular. Thank you so much. Today, we are honored to announce that Sheila Ayla is our MC at this press conference. Please welcome Sheila. Thank you.
Thank you, Homa, for those kind words. Okay, why we are here? The publicly funded Halton Catholic School Board passed a resolution to ban fundraising for charities that run counter to Catholic values. Under this ban, schools will no longer be able to raise money for groups that directly or indirectly support abortion, contraception, sterilization, euthanasia, or stem cell research. This means that students will have to disassociate from charities such as the Red Cross, the Canadian Cancer Society, all hospitals, including Sick Kid Hospital, the Terry Fox Foundation, all universities, science centers, and other organizations. The separate school board system is financed with public money, and by accepting these funds, they forfeit the right to oppose their values on the public domain. I can just ask you to hold that. Renton Patterson, who is just a minute. Renton Patterson, who is the president of the Civil Rights in Public Education did so want to be here with us today, but unfortunately for medical reasons, he couldn't come. So he asked me to read the statement. Civil rights in public education is also known as CRIPE. CRIPE, in association with Open, is launching a legal challenge to the government of Canada to remove the public funding from the Roman Catholic school systems in Ontario. Will the government of Canada actually oppose this challenge and argue to uphold this disgraceful religious discrimination? Will Justin Trudeau honour his father's beloved Charter of Rights and Freedoms and also honour Canada's commitment to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and remove the discriminatory public funding on its own, as it has already pledged to do under the terms of the above covenant? Brenton Patterson, President of CRIPE. Now, Alberta and Saskatchewan also face similar issues that we do in Ontario, and Richard Thame is going to read a statement from our colleagues in Alberta.
Thank you, Sheila. Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue. It is an honor to be here with Homa, Sheila, and all of you on this historic day. I'll now read the message from our friends in Alberta. Citizens in Alberta and Saskatchewan are finally speaking out and now organizing to abolish the injustice and waste of Catholic schools in our provinces. Every advance in Ontario on this fundamental issue also advances the call for justice in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and vice versa. By working closer with our interprovincial allies, we are all going to gain more public and media support, which is critical for real change to happen. Last year's landmark Theodore case in Saskatchewan serves notice that it is unconstitutional for non-Catholic students to attend Catholic schools. The court decision has forever changed the status quo of Catholic schools in Saskatchewan and likely Alberta as well. In other words, Canadian courts have ruled that Catholic schools cannot enjoy historic privilege and the critical funding that goes with the non-Catholic students. Now, some of the leaders of Alberta's school reform movement are former Catholic school trustees, as this issue is not about Catholicism. Rather, it is about religious equality, systemic discrimination, and the segregation of Alberta's students and communities based on religion, and the obscene waste of tens of billions of dollars of tax money. The inspirational leader of Alberta's school reform movement is David King, Alberta's deeply respected former education minister. Mr. King has publicly requested a province-wide referendum on Alberta's Catholic school system, as well as a moratorium on all future construction of new Catholic schools. We need everyone's support. You can sign our online petition by visiting ouridea.ca. The Alberta Liberal Party has just put forward a formal discussion resolution that calls for the end of publicly funded Catholic schools in Alberta. Although this is only a resolution, it is still a first for Alberta politics, and this proposal is being very well received by the Alberta public. Albertans know the price tag of religious privilege. If Alberta were to fund Catholic schools at the same level as all other religious schools, Albertans would save $550 million every year, and that's before capital costs. And if Alberta were to fund Catholic schools at the same rate as all other religious schools in British Columbia, Albertans would save almost $900 million every year, Again, that's before the capital costs. In other words, the simple introduction of religious equality would allow Alberta to quickly and painlessly pay off its enormous provincial debt. So they're not here, but let's send a round of applause to our friends in Alberta and Saskatchewan for their inspiration and their leadership. We stand with you.
Thank you, Richard. I hope they could hear us all the way in Alberta. I would like to now introduce Homa Arjomand. Homa is a political social activist in Canada and runs the international campaign against the Sharia cult in Canada, which was instrumental in amending the Arbitration Act of 1981 in 2005 and reformed family law. The international campaign to close down Iranian embassies, the campaign to stop polygamy, honor killings and forced marriages, the campaign to end apathy for refugee children in Sweden, resulting in reforms in the education system for denied refugee status, the international campaign for one secular school system for all. Homa is also the spokesperson of Women's Liberation in Canada, founder of Children's First Now. She is the coordinator of Cultural Bridges Association. In the year 2005, Homa received the annual Toronto Humanist of the Year Award, and in 2006, she received the Humanist of the Year Award from the Humanist Association of Canada. Homa has been recognized as Woman of the Year by Gazette des Femmes in the year 2005, and in 2010, Centre for Equality Canada named an award in her name, the Homa Arjomand Award for Secular Advocacy. So I will now hand you over to Homa.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Once again, thank you everyone for being here. Together we can we can tear down all these discriminations. We can tear down two systems of education in Canada. We can make it happen. Believe me, it's possible. Our camp of secular, our camp of secularism can do so much. And we are here to make sure that it's done and we can have one secular school system. Today, I'm not here. I'm not here to talk about the history of establishment of Catholic school system in Canada. The truth is, there are many pieces of legislation in Canada, Charter of Rights, that needed to be revoked or amended simply because they belong to the past generation, centuries ago, not in 21st century. In 21st century, the state should not give a free hand to religious institute and organized religion to legally establish religious schools. This type of action hamper progressive value, creates segregation, surpasses individual rights and freedom of expression, undermines women's rights and equality between men and women. It finally creates an absolute social, legal, intellectual, emotional, even geographical civil apartheid based on distinction of ethnicity and religion of their parents. It's clear example that this is the mess we face in Ontario and some other province of Canada. A part of financial burden of having 4 board of education, in which 2 of them are English and French Catholic Board of Education. But the most importantly, the most issue that we concern citizens and defender of children's rights face is when children are legally placed under religious dogma tradition, which is belonged to 150 years ago. The outcome of this recent resolution signed by Halton Catholic District Board of Education is a good example of segregation. Certainly, the old resolution paving the path for more segregation and isolation, and it is preventing children and their families from social development and advancement of science and reasoning. There is that Catholic that have been a main source to impose religion and backward tradition on children under the age of 16. We have forcefully given them religious identity and have promoted discrimination, inequality, revulsion right from their childhood. Unfortunately, Canadian government openly refused to defend the rights of children to safety, to happiness and welfare. We are told, there is not your problem. Why do you care? To those, I must say, a modern progressive society is not built of different clans and tribes and religious rules and regulation that can make their own law and regulation and practice it and not affecting us. A modern society has its own norm and standard. We have gained them by going through harsh struggle over many years. The right to live, the right to have education, the right to health, to organize, the right to have social life, and all other rights such as rights of gay and lesbians and children's rights make up the society's standard and norm. The disturbance of one would affect others. Therefore, it gives me every right to stand here and ask for one secular education for all children. That's what we want, and that's what we're going to gain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Homa. I would now like to introduce Peter Muller. Peter is a retired professional engineer, a long-time humanist. He is now director of the Ontario Humanist Society. Peter is also a licensed officiant with the society.
Thank you, Sheila. I did have a prepared speech, but I'm going to abandon it. What I mainly want to say is to convey the official position of the Ontario Humanist Society in total support of this demonstration and of the issues that are being discussed here today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I'm now going to call on Michelle Bocard. Michelle is a retired professional engineer. Together with like-minded parents, he helped set up a new type of kindergarten, which is still in operation 38 years later. For most of the 90s, Michelle was a director for the Quebec Skeptics. The 9/11 events in 2001 convinced Michelle that we had to take religious beliefs for what they are, an unpleasant danger, especially for non-believers. In 2005, he co-founded the Association Humaniste du Québec, which is devoted to spreading critical thinking. In 2014, he joined the board of Humanist Canada, and for the last 12 years, Michelle has managed the monthly AHQ events, including movies and conferences, as well as writing columns for the Quebec Humanist magazine and for the Facebook pages for AHQ and for Humanist Canada. Michelle.
Thank you. Hello. First question. How many of you actually understand French? Perhaps I should continue in English. This is Ottawa, supposed to be bilingual, but that's just a theory. All right. I have been active today because the problem that you have in Ontario, that you have in Saskatchewan, that you have in Alberta, was solved first in New Brunswick and in Quebec if you know, in 1988, New Brunswick, in fact, did confessionalize its school system, and in 1997, Quebec did the same. So any argument saying, well, the the British North American Act prevents us to change that is bullshit. But you know that. So don't take that for an answer. All right. The fact is, other fact that is important to know is because I noticed there is a lot of confusion because many people outside Ontario believe that Catholic schools are for the French-speaking people, which is absolutely not the case. 96% of the pupils in the Catholic school, not 96, 86% of the pupils in the Catholic school in Ontario, in fact, are English speaking. So it's not a French versus English problem. So you can put that aside. And the proof is that the Quebec province, which is majority of Francophone, and New Brunswick, with about almost half of French-speaking people there, were not at all disturbed by the fact that we changed from a confession-based system to a purely linguistic system. So I wish for Ontario that they reduce their number of school board system from 4 to 2. That's a very important step, and it is necessary because you cannot we cannot continue to have the Canada as a whole, and Ontario and Saskatchewan and Alberta, in fact, as responsible for education, to contradict both the Chart of Rights of Canada, because it is pure and simple discrimination, we know that, and it's also against what was already said by the United Nations. Canada is basically discriminating and has not done it. This is known since 2005, and nothing has been done since. So the guys behind there should notice that this is a problem which is not that complicated to solve. They can get it done, and we will say thank you for sure. And thank you for listening to me with my French accent. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Michelle. We now have our next speaker as Simon Parcher. Simon is a past president of the Humanist Association of Ottawa and Humanist Canada. He is currently president of the Canadian Humanist Publications and publisher of Humanist Prospectus magazine. Simon?
Good afternoon, everyone. I noticed that we've had to compete with the lovely bells up here in the tower. I think we might have a Catholic bell ringer up there somewhere trying to drown us out. I'm here today to share with everyone why the public funding of Catholic religious schools is wrong. It's wrong on several levels. It's wrong because it's an anachronism. It's a dinosaur from the past. It's wrong because it's discriminatory. And it's wrong because it's a waste of our resources, our time and our money. The Constitution of 1867 included the right to have Catholic schools to protect Catholicism, to prevent it from being subsumed by the Protestant faith, I imagine. But that has changed. Today, we have 9 times the number of Ontarians that we had in 1867. And we have many, many more religions than we did in 1867. So the this old ruling of 150 years ago is not relevant to our society today. That is one reason why it's wrong. The other reason that it's wrong is that it is discriminatory against most Ontarians. The United Nations has ruled twice, the first time in 1999, that having a religious school system publicly funded is against our human rights. And it asked the Ontario government to respond to that as to how they would address it. And the government never has responded, not even until today. So the result is that all Ontarians are paying to support the Catholic faith. And the Catholic school system is, of course, largely controlled by the Catholic Church, because the priests have to approve of people who work for the Catholic School Board, etc. So even though everyone pays for the system, not everyone can be employed by the system. So that's another transgression onto our rights. The third way that public funding of religious Catholic schools is wrong is that it is a waste. It is a waste of our time and money. There are children growing up beside a school, a Catholic school, who can't attend that school because they're not Catholic. And then sometimes they have to take a bus up to an hour to reach a school that they can attend. It has been estimated by the Ontario Ministry of Education that if we were to merge the two school systems, we would save approximately $1 billion a year. So that's a lot of money and a lot of time that would be saved by having one secular school system in Ontario. So fellow Ontarians, fellow humanists, we need to change from two systems to a one school system, because the present system that we're working under is antiquated and out of date, out of touch with our society. It is discriminatory, and it is a waste of our resources. So it's time to bring Ontario into the 21st century.
Thank you very much, Simon, for those words. I now call upon Zahia Delbrand. Zahia is a women's rights political activist in the following campaigns: the International Campaign Against Sharia Court in Canada, campaign against stoning women in Iran, campaign to stop executions in Iran, and the campaign to free political prisoners in Iran, Canada branch.
Hi everyone. Today I want to share my point of view with you about Islam. It was a shocking news when the first generation of newcomers here heard through media that the Halton Catholic District School Board signed a resolution to ban their students from fundraising for charity that run counter to Catholic value. To us who managed to flee the Islamic State of Iran, the above resolution by the Catholic School Board is the beginning of the same move of Islamization of the school. Religious was given an upper hand over there. It was given legal power to interfere with the private decision of individuals, and gradually religion overtook the right of children and controlled them in every avenue. But let us evaluate this resolution first, based on what is the mention in the resolution. A student cannot raise money for groups that directly or indirectly support abortion, contraception, or sterilization, euthanasia, or embryonic stem cells research. To us, the survivor of religious rule who have already experienced various kinds of abuse by religious rule and regulation, abortion and contraception are both directly related to women's rights, both on public health and human rights ground. Because of this progressive, modern and safe invention, women manage to gain higher education and participate in labor market. The above resolution goes against all what women manage to achieve. It is safe to say that the above resolution is against equality between man and woman, against improvement of woman liberty and in general progress in society. The resolution also forbids students to participate in any fundraising for any group that are directly or indirectly support all the things that we mentioned. One need to be proud of rapidly evolving revolution in medicine, and these type of evolving researches must become part of educational system at the school. A student need to have opportunity to participate in this type of research, but Halton Catholic Board of Education is aiming to prevent the student from advancing in scientific reasoning. As a result, we realize that by not standing firm against this resolution, we would give an upper hand to religion to furthermore redirect them to what country centuries ago, if not brainwash them totally. It is our duty to protect children from all kind of harm. Leaving underage children to be controlled by religious rule could cause a great harm to them. It is about time for Canada in 21st century to establish one secular school system for all children and put ban on all religious schools. Only then we can safeguard children. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia, for that.
Upper hand over there.
I'm now going to introduce you to Dr. Richard Thane, from Ontario, who so firmly believes that publicly funded separate schooling is a human rights concern, that he recently sponsored a 2-week billboard campaign in Toronto supporting Riva Lando's group Open, that stands for One Public Education Now. The purpose of his ads was to garner support for Open's constitutional challenge. The plaintiffs are in place. Stop. A teacher and a parent who have been discriminated against on the basis of religion. Politicians can ignore letters and phone calls from constituents, but try to hide from this issue. It is more difficult to ignore a lawsuit. Please consider supporting the crowdfunding campaign. Just Google One Public Education Now. Interestingly, this was Dr. Thane's second ad campaign. He's really been busy. In 2014, he wished to publicize his opposition to public funding of religious schools via ads timed to coincide with the opening of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg. The ads for the Winnipeg transit buses were denied at the last moment, and Richard was just told, we consider this matter closed. Well, Richard, if anybody knows Richard, he's stubborn, and Richard does not consider this matter closed. He has retained the Winnipeg law firm Thompson, Dorfman, Swatman, LLP to represent him in his charter challenge against the City of Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Transit and Patterson Outdoor Advertising for denying his fundamental freedom of expression. Stay tuned for further developments.
Thank you, Sheila. A separate, publicly funded Catholic school system is an anachronism in our multicultural 21st century society. Public funding should be for public schools. There are many arguments against changing the status quo, including the one that the concept of two publicly funded school systems is enshrined in the Constitution. This is what Michelle was referring to. That is a specious argument. Constitutions can be changed. The people who wrote ours not only thought that women do not have the right to vote, they also thought that women are not persons in the legal concept of the word. Yes, indeed, the Constitution can be changed.
Yes.
Okay. Not only will eliminating publicly funded separate schools save the taxpayers money, spending public money on education that promotes the beliefs of one religion is morally wrong. Now, Norm Sterling, an Ontario Conservative MPP from 1977 to 2011, famous for opposing the Davis government's decision to extend public monies to separate secondary schools, was clear. I do not believe the state should voluntarily pay to indoctrinate children in one religious belief to the exclusion of all the others. End quote. The issue of merging the school system is not one of Catholics versus non-Catholic. The issue is about whether it is appropriate for Ontario to divert billions of taxpayer dollars from essential services such as healthcare to maintain this historic injustice. This is still an important moral question we must deal with. Preferential treatment based on religion cannot be tolerated in a democratic society. It's the principle of fairness that's paramount. Greg Sorbera, a former Liberal MPP and cabinet minister in the Ontario legislature, wrote that he grew up in the Catholic tradition. As a teenager, he was determined to become a priest. Despite that, he believes that it is time for Ontario to move to one public education system for all. He added that this is not the Ontario of 1867, when the Protestant majority agreed to accommodate Catholics with separate schools, as much to keep the Catholic kids away from their own children as to make concessions for a greater common goal. He finished by stating that the Ontario of today is a secular society that is a welcome home to every religion in the world. It is our strong suit, an operational example of how a pluralist, multicultural jurisdiction can and should work. Special accommodation for one religion and one religion only no longer seems appropriate to our circumstances. End of quote. I say, let's build a country where school boards can't say, of course, our religion believes in human rights and equality, but we also believe that we are more equal than others. Let's publicly fund schools based on the principle of fairness, where all pupils are treated with dignity their personhood deserves, despite the outdated view that bases a person's personal worth and private thoughts. Despite the outdated view that bases a person's worth on the personal and private thoughts they have about their spiritual beliefs. In a world where religious tensions seem to be growing, uniting the next generation of citizens is of paramount importance to all of us. Let's build a society that treats all citizens with equality and dignity, those with no religion and those who practice a religion, any religion, not just those with the right religion. This is why Ontario must not fund any special interest groups, including religious schools. The present funding system in Ontario is an international embarrassment, a financial disaster, and a moral disgrace. It is morally wrong to continue the status quo. It was Pope Paul VI who said, "With respect to the fundamental rights of the person, every type of discrimination, whether social or cultural, whether based on sex, race, color, social condition, language, or religion, is to be overcome and eradicated as contrary to God's intent."
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Richard, and also thank you for what you're doing, okay, on behalf of the movement. I would now like to introduce JP Westland from the Humanist Association of Ottawa. JP is a business analyst and a former stonemason who has been volunteering at the Humanist Association of Ottawa for 5 years. He currently serves as the group's president.
Thanks, Sheila. It's hard to believe in 2018 we're still here talking about this, and that this is still a problem that we face, and it's something that I think Ontarians aren't thinking about enough. You know, the full funding of Catholic schools came about in 1986. William Davis originally said he wasn't going to do it, but then I guess he caved, and here we are. But this is a mistake we can fix, and as Homa mentioned earlier, the legal framework behind it is more complex and it's deeper, and it goes back to the 19th century. But the Humanist Association of Ottawa, we stand up for freedom of speech and the full separation of church and state. So we are 100% behind this campaign. We always have been, and we will continue to be. And we need to have the full secularization and unification of the school boards in Ontario. So let's continue to work together to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, JP. Can I have my words? Excuse me. Thank you. Okay, and our last speaker is Andrew West from the Green Party of Ontario. And I would also like to mention he is also the candidate of Canada Carleton. So next election, if you live in that area, you know where to put your X. Andrew is a lawyer on Ottawa and the Attorney General critic for the Green Party of Ontario. Andrew attended law school after graduating with honours from the Politics and Governance program at Ryerson University. He started working at a young age for his family-owned construction business. Andrew then spent over 10 years in the television industry, where he worked mostly as a sole proprietor independent contractor.
So, thank you for inviting the Green Party to speak here today. The Green Party is the one party that is talking about integrating the separate and public school boards. Having two school boards creates duplication and redundancies. You have the separate school boards have their own board of trustees, they have their own bureaucracy, and there's buses that shuttle students back and forth. If a public school student lives near a Catholic school, sometimes they have to be bused far away to go to a Catholic school or to a public school, and a Catholic school student is coming the other way. The Green Party of Ontario wants to reduce these redundancies and put that money back into the schools. We figure that it can be that $1.6 to $1.2 billion can be saved every year reducing these redundancies. And maybe you may say that number's high, that's inflated. Well, just take half of it. That's still more money that can go back into our schools to benefit the teachers and the students. Now, my personal view is not against the Catholic schools at all. I've talked to every Catholic high school in Canada Carleton, and they're amazing. They really are. The teachers are great. They care about their students, as do the support staff. Their teachers, their students are engaged and informed. What I want to see is the redundancies ended so more money can go back into the schools to make every school great. Now, this is an important election. As I said, the Green Party is the only party that's talking about integrating the two school boards. As British Columbia has shown, just 3 members of Parliament can change to make a difference in the legislature. If you want this subject raised in the Ontario legislature, the only way to do it is to vote Green. In Canada Carleton, we have a great opportunity to finally elect a Green Party candidate. There's no NDP candidate as it stands right now. The Liberals are unpopular across the entire province. And we have 2 Conservative candidates for a split Conservative vote. So it's very vital that if you live in Canada Carleton or you know of anyone in Canada Carleton to go out and vote Green. So if you care about integrating the 2 separate school boards, and if you also care about protecting the environment or reducing hospital wait times or reducing our debt or protecting small businesses, then on June 7th, vote for the Green Party of Ontario. Thank you.
Once again, I would like to thank everyone who participated in this campaign. In my belief, every one of you can really be the spokesperson of this campaign and make a huge change. Believe me, it's possible. We can make sure religion stays private matter of adult individual. Children have no religion. Religion should be totally separated from a state in every avenue. We can do it. Look at us. We did it. We're going to do it. We want Canada to be the lead country internationally that makes sure that even ahead of France, to make sure that religion stays private as individual in their own bedroom, in their own temple, in their own mosque. Be individual, private matters, not involving children. Children's rights are universal. It's my duty, your duty, everybody's duty is to defend them. We want them healthy. We do not want them to be segregated from each other. Thank you so much, and thank you, Richard. You're doing a great job. These ads you can see, it was running in Toronto. So many cars has witnessed that. We have to make sure that they understand why we put these signs up. And it's important for us to connect and make sure that it's done. Thank you so much again. Hopefully we see each other.
Okay, this concludes our little event here. Thank you everybody who came, and thank you God for not making rain. Well, I know there is no God. It's a little joke, okay? And I hope you will have a safe journey home. Thank you.
Thank you.
बरोबर शी बोल मिक्रोफोन में मिक्रोफोन में क्या बोल
I'm sorry, I have to do 1 minute Farsi. So sorry, I'm doing only 1 minute Farsi for Iran because people in Iran are expecting us to do a lot in Canada. Can you believe that? But anyway, با تشکر از تمام کسایی که برای کمپین علیه مذهب در اینجا جمع شدیم. واقعیت اینه که ما کمپین بین‌المللی برای یک مدرسه سکولار در کانادا، مسئولش خودم هستم و امروز پرس کانفرانس بوده، یعنی کنفرانس مطبوعاتی در کانادا در مقابل پارلمان. از همه خواستیم که تلاشی بکنن نه تنها در آنتریو مذهب رو کلا از مدارس جدا کنن، بلکه در سر تا سر کانادا که 3 ایالت دیگه هم مدرسه کاتولیک دارند کاری بکنن که این مدارس یک مدرسه سکولار واحد برای تمام دانش آموزان باشه. از تمام کسانی که در ایران هستن خواهش میکنیم که برای یک مدرسه واحد سکولار اقدام بکنن، نه فقط مدرسه بلکه باید دولتی داشته باشن، مردم باید مطمئن شن که تمام مذاهب از تمام ارگانهای دولتی جدا بشه. متشکرم.
مرسی. 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 مرسی.